So Liverpool are heading back to Arsenal on Sunday for yet another massive game in the season that keeps throwing them up, doesn't it? Now, they've been to Arsenal quite recently, haven't they, in the FA Cup and won there 2-0 in a really hard-fought game. Arsenal maybe on top in the first half, but Liverpool come roaring back in the second and earned a deserved win, really, that's kept them in this quadruple hunt that's ongoing at the moment. But this game, it's all about the Premier League, isn't it? And the title challenge that Liverpool are putting together now. This is a massive one. It's an opportunity from Liverpool's perspective to put an 8-point gap between them and Arsenal. Now, Arsenal have been touted as title contenders all through this season. As I say, they're only 5 points away from Liverpool. They can squeeze that down to 2 if they get a win on the home ground against Liverpool in this one. So it's a massive, massive game. And Liverpool, they want to extend that gap as much as they can and also keep ahead of Manchester City, who they would probably see as the main threat in this title race. They have been the main threat over recent years, haven't they? So I think it's fair to say that. So it's a huge game for both sides and a lot riding on it. And for that reason, I think, a massive team selection for the manager. I mean, these games, as I say, they keep coming thick and fast and they're always big team selections. But I think this one where you can take points from a title rival, it just adds an extra bit of spice to things, doesn't it? It makes it a little bit more tricky for the manager in terms of how he goes through it. Now, I do these team selection videos quite a lot, and I'm going to do this one in a slightly different way because I'm going to race through what I think are the obvious picks. Because it's a big game, I think the manager's going to try and go with what is his best team, and I think in certain areas there aren't really question marks how he's going to go in certain areas. So as I say, I'm going to quickly go through those and nail down the obvious parts of the team, and then I'm going to get really into the talking points. And as usual, before I kick this off, I'm going to ask you, in the comments, let me know what your starting 11 would be like. Maybe write it down before I start speaking here and give me what your thoughts would be, and then maybe let me know if it changes. Maybe I can be quite persuasive in this video. I'll absolutely try my best anyway. So I'm going to get into it, as I say, with the obvious picks. In starting goal with Alisson Becker, absolutely no doubt for me he's going to be in between the sticks, as he's the number one goalkeeper and he's the first choice there, absolutely. And I think in front of him there's a couple of choices in that defence that are pretty similar, really, and that's obviously Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahima Konate. I think Konate is the one with the biggest question marks, obviously, because he's played a lot of football recently and the manager always likes to protect him because he has that tendency to pick up muscle injuries. So that could maybe throw Quanta into the mix, but I still think this game is so big, and because it's not in a cup competition, I just struggle to see him throwing Quanta in there. I think it's probably going to be Konate and Van Dijk, that first choice partnership that come in and hopefully can keep a clean sheet against Arsenal. Now, I'm going to leave the defence there, which gives it clues to where I think there's question marks. I'm going to just move into the midfield, and again, this for me at the moment is an absolutely nailed on pick. Obviously Endo is away. Gravenberch, I still don't think he is in that first choice midfield. Similar for Harvey Elliott. I think that there's a 3 here that are available and all fit that has to be for me the first choice at the moment, and that is Alexis McAllister, Dominic Szoboszlai, and of course Curtis Jones. Now, McAllister got a little knock on his knee against Chelsea, but I've been at the press conference today and I don't think that's anything serious. Don't expect him to have to miss out on this one. So I think at the moment you just have to say those 3 really are the nailed on 3. And again, Szoboszlai came back into the starting 11. He's had an injury recently and I thought he played fantastically. In fact, that little rest he's had through injury might actually do him favours as we move into the run-in. So he looked really fresh and back to his best. So as I say, I think that 3 as a unit, so balanced whenever they play together. It looks a really, really nice mix with McAllister in that holding role, 280 the side of him, who absolutely work the socks off and keep it tight. So for me, that's a no-brainer really to start those 3 in this one. So I think they will be on the starting 11 against Arsenal. So moving to the forward line now, and there are a few question marks here for me. I'll go into this one because I've left the fullbacks, as you'll know, but I think that the forward line there are question marks here, but maybe slightly easier to resolve. And one of the big questions around this part of the pitch is the fact that Darwin Nunez, we found out in the press conference today, is nursing a foot injury that he picked up against Chelsea. Apparently a Chelsea player stamped on him and he's still feeling that now. Now, whether he can be involved at all is in doubt, judging by what Jurgen Klopp said. So, big question marks over whether he can start or not with that swelling. So I think at this point of the season, Liverpool in so many competitions, they need to keep players fit and fresh. I just think, even if that swelling subsides enough, I still think there's probably going to be some element of pain there, judging by the type of injury it is. And for me, I think you don't want to take any risks. And I also think that Darwin Nunez, he's a very good substitute late in games. He comes on and he stretches things. He's great up against tired legs. So he's a really good impact sub, even though he is playing really well from the start at the minute, don't get me wrong. But I think, you know he's good there. You don't want to take risks with his fitness, and for that reason, I'm just going to pull him out of the starting 11. I think Liverpool have got enough forward options, haven't they? And they can use Nunez off the bench if they need him late on. So I think for that reason, the three I'm going to go with is the obvious three in the absence of Mohamed Salah. It's Jota, Gakpo and Diaz. Now obviously that's Gakpo coming in, and I think he hasn't let Liverpool down this season. I know he got a bit of criticism after the Norwich game, missed a couple of chances, but I still think he's generally been a reliable finisher. You can't take every chance, and I think especially in away games, his ability to press, he's very intelligent in that, knows the right spaces to pick up, and I think he looks after the ball really well as well with his back to goal. He can take the ball in and pop it off, and I just think he's really capable of doing that, and for that reason I would start him in that centre forward role, maybe over Jota, who doesn't look after the ball as well in that area, even though he's such a goal threat and so vital, isn't he? I think Gakpo, he's a really reliable presence in those central areas and will help Liverpool keep the ball and get up the pitch. So I'm going to start him in that centre forward role, and then I think maybe Jota off the right hand side and Diaz off the left, just because I think Diaz, he's quite comfortable, he's more comfortable maybe on that left hand side, and I think Jota, it's not really about ball progression with him. It's more about getting him in the box, inside the width of the post and into goal-scoring positions. And he can do that left or right side for me. So I think that's the reason I'm going to go with Diaz to be the ball carrier on that left-hand side. Gakpo in the middle, as I said. And then Jota, hopefully, he can still get into sort of centre-forward positions, goal-scoring positions from that right wing. So that's my front three. Now I'm going to finish off the video now by talking about the big question mark areas, or the really difficult picks, I think, in that one, in this one, and I think that is right and left back. And I'll start with right back now. Of course, Conor Bradley, what a phenomenal performance against Chelsea. 2 assists and a goal, the dominant force in the game from right back, which you couldn't expect from a 20-year-old who's coming in to replace Trent Alexander-Arnold, that he would do Trent Alexander-Arnold type things, just in phenomenal form at the moment, and has been brilliant since he come into the Liverpool team. There's such big faith in him in pre-season, but he got that injury at a really bad time, and he's missed out on a lot of football as a result, a lot of opportunities he could have. But since he has come into the team, hasn't missed a beat at all. He's been absolutely fantastic, and for that reason, it would be unbelievably harsh to drop him, wouldn't it? But I'm going through my 11 for this one, and I just struggle to see him starting again. One of the reasons is he's played a lot of football recently, and he is a kid. You do have to protect him. And the second is, of course, that the man who's waiting to come in, the man who's waiting to take his place, is Alexander-Arnold. He's the best right back in the world for me. I just think that makes it so difficult to keep him on the bench. A player who, let's not forget, as good as Conor Bradley's been, how influential and how good Trent Alexander-Arnold was before his injury. Everyone thought that could in fact possibly derail Liverpool's season. That's how influential he was, just on both sides of the ball, playing absolutely fantastically well. And I think you just can't keep a player of this quality off the bench. And the fact that it's a tight turnaround from Wednesday, it gives the manager an excuse to throw Trent Alexander-Arnold in and protect Conor Bradley. And I think Bradley's going to play a lot of games between now and the end of the season. Don't get me wrong, he's a fantastic rotational option on that right hand side. He's shown as much. He's a brilliant player, but I think you just cannot keep Alexander-Arnold out of this team. He's too important, he's too good, and he can do everything that Conor Bradley has shown, but he can do a little bit more as well. His passing range is out of this world. There are very few players in the world who can pass the ball in the way that Alexander-Arnold does, and I just think for a big game like this, coming hot on the heels of that Chelsea game that was so close to it, I just think this is a great time to bring Trent Alexander-Arnold in. And look, if he tires late on because he's been out for a little while and hasn't got those big amount of 90s in his legs at the minute, then maybe it's time to bring Conor Bradley on. We saw in the FA Cup game actually that he came on at the Emirates and did really well, didn't he? He locked Martinelli down in the final moment, so maybe there's a job for him to do there. But I think, for the reasons I stated, really, that Trent Alexander-Arnold is so good, he's going to be my starting pick at right back. And finish off now with the other flank, which again I think is a difficult pick, and the reason for that, of course, is that Andy Robertson is back to fitness. He's been out for a while, so the big option there for the manager is, do I choose Andy Robertson? Do I throw him back in as good as he is, or do we stick with Joe Gomez at the moment? I think it is a really difficult one, but I'm tempted, unlike what I did on the other side, I'm tempted to stick with Joe Gomez for this one, and a couple of reasons for that. Obviously, Andy Robertson, fantastic. He brings such attacking verve, and he's as good a defender as Joe Gomez. There's no drop off there that Andy Robertson provides. I think he's a phenomenal defender, so it's nothing to do with that. But I just think he's been out for quite a while, hasn't he? And the length of time he's been out, he's probably going to need a 60 minutes somewhere to get himself back into full fitness, to get him back to that match sharpness. Now, if you do that at Arsenal, you already lose a sub, and Liverpool might need those subs in other areas. You don't want to just give one up to giving Andy Robertson minutes. And the fact is, Joe Gomez has been phenomenal at left back at the moment. He's in such good form. You know, Liverpool don't look unbalanced with him there. His defensive work's been outstanding. And I thought the fact he played so well in the FA Cup recently at Arsenal, and he's, you know, they're going to have Saka on that side. He wants to cut in, which just suits Joe Gomez coming in on his right foot down to the ground. I think that battle was, you know, really went in Gomez's favour last time. So I just think it's too easy to throw him back in there and think that, you know, he can lock Saka down. We know it. And I think that the way Arsenal are going to want to play with the wingers cutting in, Joe Gomez is so set up to deal with that. And as I said, Robertson's match fitness is not just quite at the level you maybe want it to be. Maybe you can get that in the next week or so. Then I think it has to be Joe Gomez for me. And as I say, you know, he hasn't let anyone down, has he, in that left back spot? He's playing, you know, he's in the form arguably of his Liverpool career at the moment. He's absolutely flying and doing such a good job. And I think, you know, it's just a nailed on starter for me at left back that you go with Joe Gomez there. Maybe it's hard lines on Andy Robertson, but there are so many games coming up that he's going to get opportunities to get back in the side. And I've no doubt with his quality that he will eventually dislodge Joe Gomez there. But I just don't think this is the right time to do it. So it's Joe Gomez for me at left back. So that completes my team selection. You'll be able to see the starting 11 coming up on the screen now. As usual, I'm going to say, you know, let me know in the comments what you think. Have I got it completely wrong? I know those fullback picks might be controversial. Maybe you want to risk it with Darwin Nunez. Maybe you think the blend in midfield isn't right. Maybe you prefer someone else to start in there, and maybe some of these midfielders that I picked to come on as subs. Do let me know what you think in the comments. And as usual, I'm going to say, you know, if you enjoyed this video, please do give me a like. Always helps to get it out there. And if you don't subscribe to the channel, please do get on board. So much more to come. And the next time I'll see you actually will be after this Arsenal game, giving my post-match review and hopefully giving my thoughts on a Liverpool victory. So I'll see you then.